Have you ever thought about eating an eyeball? No? Good. Me neither. But when this book started me in the bookstore and I read the blurb, I got intrigued. Not about eating eyes, but how someone could come to this craving. So here we are today. Weird intro aside, thank you for clicking on this video. If you're new here, I'm Kaya and I'm an illustrator, and this video is going to be a bit different because besides being an artist, I also work at our local library and I love reading and books and stories in general. So for today I thought, why not combine these two aspects and do a speed paint with a book review. So without further ado, let's start. The speed painting you will see today is an OC drawing I did a couple of weeks ago. It's not really related to the story this time, but it somehow revolves around the same topic of eating eyes. Maybe I need to rethink my opening statement. The book I want to talk about, you probably guessed it from the video title, is called The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. It's still a fairly new one, but it had a lot of hype around it when it came out, which somehow completely passed by me. Here it even says that it's a Sunday Times bestseller. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe not. I picked this one up when I was in the bookstore and just looking around, browsing without the goal of searching for a specific book, and it kind of sprang into my eye. You're gonna get a lot of eye and seeing puns this video, I'm not sorry. But yeah, I picked it up and the synopsis sounded really interesting, so I just bought it without knowing really what's it about. The Eyes Are the Best Part falls under the horror and the crime genre. Horror is a really difficult word for me to pronounce, but horror is also my favorite genre when it comes to books and stories and movies, or like fiction in general. And from that, my favorite subgenre is psychological horror and body horror. So the topic of this college girl falling into madness and developing cannibalistic tendencies sounded like a gory and fun read for me. But the book was quite different than I expected. Not to say it was bad. I still enjoyed it, but I'm in two minds about it. And that's why I want to share my opinion and I need to talk about it, because none of my friends read. So you all gonna be my friends in the town and can listen to me up while I draw. First, if you haven't read it, I'm gonna give you a quick summary so you know what's going on. There will be spoilers, but if there's going to be a really big plot twist, I'm gonna put the timestamp on the screen somewhere and try to be a bit more cautious in case you want to read it and not get spoiled too much. The story follows our main character, Shivan, and in the book there's a passage about a white man pronouncing her name wrong and her sister's name wrong, and I'm so sorry. I tried my best to pronounce these Korean names well. I'm just really bad at pronouncing words, but I try my best. She's an 18-year-old college student, just freshly started her college years. Her family, though, originates from Korea, but she and her younger sister were born already in America. One day, the father of the family leaves them all abruptly, which turns their mother into a miserable, depressed shell of herself. The mother, in self-pity, keeps cooking the favorite meals of the now gone husband in hopes he's gonna come back and they're gonna be the happy family again. She's just like in a big delusion the whole time and really desperately tries to fancy the man around her. One of the times she cooks a whole fish, like full body, head, all included, and we get to experience through Shivan's lens, in a slightly disturbed, too detailed manner, how her mother plucks out one of those eyeballs with her chopsticks and eat it and devour it cheeringly. For good luck, obviously. Apparently it's a tradition. The sisters, and I'm on their side this time, find those completely unappealing and don't want to touch the fish at all, and of course not the eyeballs. But when this event comes the second time around in the book, Shivan, as the older sister, she wants to please her mother and finally gives in to eating one of those eyes for the family, for good luck for the family. But despite all those fish eye eating, the father doesn't come back and the mom is getting worse and worse and is still miserable and unlucky. But only till she meets an American man named George. And George she starts dating, all to the resentment of her daughters. George is the literal stereotype of an old, white, middle-class man with heavy racist undertones. The sisters can absolutely not stand him and see right through him, but the mother is completely blinded by rose-colored glasses. Especially Shivan starts to build up really deep hatred against him. All good and normal so far, right? Dysfunctional family, incompetent mother, and shitty man. Sounds like a horror, yes. But that's not quite what I'd considered disturbing and visceral, how I've got advertised for the story. But just hold on, don't close it yet. G1, after the lucky fish eye eating ceremony, ritual, event, develops kind of a craving for eyeballs. It's kind of her obsession revolves around the blue eyes. Her reasoning for that is just that blue eyes look more appealing, more tasty than brown eyes, because brown eyes look like dirt. Not my words. But do you wanna guess who's got blue eyes? Exactly, mom's boyfriend George. We get many themes about Jiwan fascinating and daydreaming or nightmare dreaming about George's eyes. She thinks about touching them and plucking them out of his skull and eating them and ending all the family's suffering once and for good. She gets nightmares about eyeballs and starts sleepwalking and sleep eating. No, not eyeballs, but like tomatoes. Her grades worsen by the day, and so does her mental state. Till she eventually caves in and satisfies her hunger. And that's basically this book's broken down stories. There's obviously a lot of subplots, there is more characters, and many other themes and aspects of Shivan's broader life, like her college days. But I still think it's worth a read, and that's why I won't chew up every aspect. So if you decide to also give it a chance, that you still get to experience something new and only talk about details if necessary. So first of all, I personally like the writing style. Usually I'm not the biggest fan of the first person narrator, but in this case I really liked looking into Shivan's head and experienced the whole situation, the madness from her point of view, and look into the story through her eyes. It reads quite young, like it does feel like an 18-year-old girl telling a story, or like thinking and feeling, which in this case is really that what it should be, because it's her story. And also that note, as someone whose first language isn't English, it's nice to have a book which I can actually understand and don't have to look up every second word to understand what they're saying. Shiwan as a narrator was especially interesting because at first she felt like just this innocent young girl in a terrible situation, and her trying to be the bigger sister and also the eldest daughter to her mother. But while her eye cravings grow more and more, it's getting clearer and clearer by the events that she's at best just an really unreliable narrator, and at worst a really prescient manipulator. Tiny spoiler, in a flashback scene where she talks about her high school friend group, she's reminiscent about her gaslighting and lying to the other girls to break the whole group apart and drive a wedge between them. Out of jealousy, to be clear. The other girls, even in her own flashback, didn't seem to do anything wrong. And all of this happened a long time before the events with her father leaving. And when she got the chance to clear things up with the other girls, they gave her a chance in the present of the story. She ditches them all over again. The two friends she finds at college are also kind of shady. There's a guy she kind of befriends named Jeffrey with a G. And he's also like a caricature of like those extra-feministic men that throw buzzwords around to seem especially woke and political correct all the time, because he thinks that's what the girls want, and especially that's what Shiwan likes. But it's kind of clear that it's also just a show. But Shiwan herself doesn't realize that till her other friend Alexis points it out. But this new friend handed her like prescription pills. I don't know. She's surrounded by the wrong friends, and that's why it's a bit difficult to actually like any of the characters in this book. I think the one that seems the most realistic and likable is the little sister. She seems to handle the whole ordeal like a regular 15-year-old would. She's also the one voicing concern about Yvonne when she realized that she's acting kind of weird and has trouble sleeping. Her sleeping issues are caused by nightmares, and also the reason why Alexis gave her those pills. The nightmares are written in these dream sequences, and I really enjoyed them. They started kind of early in the story, and the first time it happened I got really confused and I had to flip back up some pages because I thought I missed something, because like, what the hell is going on? Where is she now? But I like this disorienting moment till I realized, oh, it's a dream. She's dreaming that. And those dreams also got more and more out of control each time. There's times where Jiwon also starts sleepwalking. You as a reader sometimes don't really know if it's now really happening or if she's dreaming. So you're really living with her and her confused mind. And I really enjoy this kind of storytelling in horror books if you as a reader also get confused and don't get handed everything. The book itself, it's not that long, and because I like the writing, it was a really quick read for me. But the first part of it is really long-wired. We get a lot of build-up. A bit too much for my liking. It takes a really long time till something really shocking happened. Usually that's okay, but it was advertised and described as so shocking and visceral, and half of the book reads just like a family drama. When then finally something happened, spoiler, she finds a dead man, plucks his eye out and eats it. This alone is shocking, don't get me wrong. But it's been way too long till we finally see this breaking point of Shiwan, because this whole thing is the synopsis of the book. Her wanting to eat eyes, and then it happens after like so late in the story the first time. Like, we know how badly she wants to eat those eyes after all her thinking, her nightmares, her thoughts about George. It kind of feels like we're just waiting for something bad to happen, but not in a really suspenseful way, but more like, just do it. And then it was just kind of unspectacular, and also the other murders she does. Also, I don't know if I can find her reactions after those things happened realistic. She is driven by this urge to cannibalize people's eyes. At first she really acts out of opportunity. Maybe? At least it's implied, since we don't know how the homeless man died. Although she has met this man in the story before. So could she have sneaking him the sleeping pills and we just don't know? Like, unreliable narrator and all? I don't know. Her weapon of choice is a knife she carries in her backpack as a self-defense, of course. When she loses her backpack because she left it with Jeffrey and she ran away and she cannot find her backpack anywhere, she panics. Like, I don't feel bad for her, but I can understand her. So her searching for a backpack felt like more like her giving into her cravings. I could really sense her feeling of dread in those moments. In the end, spoiler again for the ending, she planned an ambush to get rid of George and also Jeffrey at the same time. It comes to a fight where Siobhan and George land in hospital, where she can finally snack on this man's eyeballs. In the hospital, she gets diagnosed with a brain tumor, which I thought would explain her behavior, because up until this point we have an explanation why she behaves like this. It's implied that the eating of the fish eye was the trigger. That's it, and that's like a bit... That was something I really was like the whole time, like, why? Why? So after her removal of the tumor, I thought this was the explanation, because it's so random, like, oh, you had a fight, you were really beaten up, and also you have a brain tumor. But after the removal, she doesn't really feel remorse or disgust at all. She wants to keep going. So I don't know why the tumor part was made into the story. I don't know, or maybe I just don't get it. It could be really possible. So yeah, I hope I don't sound too negative here. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad book. I enjoyed it, I just had a really different expectation on it. It's definitely valid in the horror genre, in my opinion. It scratches on many topics that are more on the darker side, besides the obviously cannibalistic and murderous tendencies of our main character and her moral breaking. Just looking at the situation of all that is happening to a teenager, after all, is shocking and grotesque. Sprinkling in other themes like the fetishization of Asian women by white men, in this case even the fetishization of this underage sister of Jiwon's by George, the straight up emotional neglect from the mother to the girls, and the borderline stalking of Jeff when it comes to Jiwon. It is a disturbing story. It's just not that bloody. I think for the people who don't have much touching points with the horror story yet, it could be a calm start, or if the really slow burn type of book is your thing. In the end, it's still getting a recommendation from me, and if you get your hands on a copy, you should still give it a try. But I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. I'm gonna do it anyway. Get yourself a prettier version because I didn't research it before buying, so I didn't know there were other covers. And I really don't like this one I have. I think I'm allowed to say these things because this is an illustration channel in the first place. The art is intriguing, but the typography and graphic design, I just don't like it. I still bought it because I want to read it, but yeah, you get the point. Well, and that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video format with a speed painting and a book talk. Sometimes I just don't have anything to say about a drawing, or like, that's not true. I don't have much to say about a drawing, and some of you still want to see speed paints. I wouldn't know what I could have said about this Mariko drawing. So I thought maybe you enjoyed this as well. If you did, leave me a like. It really helps me and the channel out. And if you read this book, let me know how you like it. And if you didn't read it yet, maybe give it a try. And thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.